Hey, what's up, man?
Ah, another day, another last drop. Let's get it, man. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I'm pumped. I think we got a really fun business to build today. So,
Let's do
if you've
it.
never been here before, welcome. I am Jake. This is Dave. We are here to do the last drop. It is a business building, marketing, branding, go to market podcast where we're going to take one crazy idea and one awesome drink and deliver an entire business plan before we hit the bottom of the glass.
It's fun. Jake, what are you drinking today? Speaking of.
So today, our episode, we are drinking Freeland Spirits Forest Gin, which is a Portland local for you.
Yeah.
They do have other amazing locally produced gins and whiskeys, some very interesting ones. But the Forest Gin is all locally sourced botanicals for the
Ooh.
gin. And I can tell you, as you can see from this bottle, this is not the first sips from this bottle.
Yeah.
It will be sad when we get to the last. It is just delightful. Absolutely delightful. I'm not typically a drier gin drinker, but this is a very nice replacement for like a beef eater.
Ooh. Ooh, nice.
So, if
I
you're,
love it, man.
I am, although I am consuming it in a cocktail modal. I just poured it with some ginger beer, and we'll be consuming that. So, shout out to the Forest Gin from Freeland Spirits. So,
There you go, man. There you go.
as for the business we're building today, here is the business. As soon as I pull it up, this business concept is a luxury, elegant paper goods, fountain pens, and desk accessories business for people that want to go analog, get off their devices, and really enjoy writing with high-end and also high-cost utensils. The name of this business is Vellum.
All right.
So, we've got a drink. We've got a business. It's time to build it down to the last drop. It's going to get wild, so hold on to your glass. Dave, where do you start with a concept like Vellum?
So, if it's people like A, love this premise. B, I think you have to start at the beginning, which is like there's this idea that words create new worlds. Like we see this in biblical texts, we see this in all sorts of creation myths around the globe, that there's often this character, this divine being that speaks something into creation. And we see this happen over and over and over again. Like, how many conversations have you and I had, man? And we're like, you'll say something to me, I'm like, huge idea. Like, that blew my brain. Holy crap, I'm seeing the world in a whole new way. And I think that fundamentally, when we start talking about like pad and pen, we're talking about harnessing the power that lies within those words. So I think that you start with this like premise of, hey, we're not selling pens and paper. We're selling the ability to change people's minds.
So I'm interested. Do you see this as a brand-driven play? Do you see this as a commodity-driven play? Or do you see this as more of like a counterculture play? What is kind of the impetus that you're going to lean all of your marketing and your product development on as your differentiator in the market? Because we talk about differentiators all the time. There's lots of pens out there. There's lots of paper out there. Why would someone choose Vellum's product over everyone else?
Yeah, I think when you come back to it, if you do the commodity play, there's not a whole lot there. There are already so, I mean, like, when you think about the commodity play, where do you fit in the marketplace? You've got G2, like Pilot. You've got Bic. You've got Zebra pens. You got Sharpie. Like Sharpie actually has a disproportionate amount of that space as well. Like, where do you go if? And then I think that there's this flip side too. Like if you're selling notebooks and pens, that does give you something together. It is both, right? At Vellum, it's like we sell.
The pitch is that it is pens, paper, and desk accessories for those that want to go analog.
Yeah. Ooh. For those that want to go analog. It's almost like the tagline is built into it, you sneaky dog. Yeah, I think that there's something to, like, I have these, I actually forget the name of the brand. This is, like, very well loved, by the way. I have so many of these, like, just plain journals or, like, notepads. And the reason why I love them is that they open up flat. And so, like, there's a design element to this that I pay more for these. I used to have them for staff for years and years and years. I used to just buy these in bulk, and so I still have a number of them. I think it was just right, like you do those things, and so I think that there's something to, like there's this project that I funded years ago on Kickstarter called Bibliotheca. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
It was actually one of the most successful Kickstarters ever, and its basic premise was the way that like a Bible's designed is not like how books are designed. And so why couldn't that lay flat? And why doesn't it have nice paper in the middle? Like I buy my wife leather-bound journals because she is a serial journaler. And so she's like always looking for something that's nice and handy. And she's not looking for something that's cheap. She's looking for something that lasts. So I think that I would go hey, we're building a sick product that feels good in your hands, that makes you want to go analog, and that actually is going to stand the test of time. So if you are journaling, this is like an heirloom to pass down. And if you're not, it's still going to be able to sit on your bookshelf for a while. Where do you take it though, Jake?
Well, I want to maintain true to the prompt as much as possible, which is that this is a luxury brand.
Yeah.
We want to keep part of this not just inaccessible in concept, but inaccessible in price.
Totally.
And so when I think about luxury daily goods in specific, and this might be a stretch, but like a Rolex,
sure,
to me is a luxury daily good. A Dolce & Gabbana purse is a luxury daily good. And so one of the things that stands out with those types of brands is the clout of the brand itself. I'm not just using a $70 pen.
Right.
I'm using a $70 Vellum pen.
Right.
And so I think there's a decent portion of the effort that goes into this all the way down to the product development level that has to be ingrained in brand first, product second, but barely.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I also think that there's that element too, right, where it's like it has to be one of the things that happens with luxury brands that is almost a miss sometimes, I think, is that you miss that daily use. And I think that that's part of the reason why luxury cars do really well in the marketplace. Like there are a lot more luxury cars, and it's not just because of price. It's because of how we use them. So a luxury vehicle, there are a lot more use cases for that. People are going to take them to a meeting with a client. They're going to take it to a job interview. They're going to take it out on a date. They're going to use that vehicle a lot. Versus, to your point, the Rolex, it's like it sits on your wrist. That's daily use too. But when we get into the pen category, a lot of times what happens with those like $70, $80, $100 pens, they like sit on the desk. And so you have to, it's almost like I have this friend who they got like fine china for their wedding, and they like kept it away for years and years and years. And then at one point they like had 3 kids. And And he just went, why the hell? We've been lugging this around from like Michigan to LA. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to eat on the fine china every day. Right. And so he did something that was ridiculous. And he was just like, look, before our kids go to school, we're using the fine china because, and his idea, and I think that you could do this with this with Vellum, right? But his idea essentially was there's a sacredness to the time we spend together as a family. Every time that we eat should be a fine china dinner, meal, breakfast. It should be that. And so there's almost this way to look at it where it's like you and I both enjoy fine spirits, and is part of mostly day-to-day use. And it's like, man, there's something about that ritual for us that gets us into the mood to be like, oh yeah. Are there things when you think about it, do you feel like ritual is in congruence with a luxury brand, or do you feel like that's something else?
I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the brand itself to kind of pick that.
Say more.
If you create a product that, let me back that sentence up. You can create a product that kind of begs to be used versus a product that is like fine china. You could actually build your brand around, this is the fine china that you use every day. Right? Like that would be a brand level play. And by consuming the brand, I'm accepting that kind of call to action as part of it. I think like high-end sneakers is another good example of that.
Okay.
Yes, you can have the luxury high-end, $350, Air Maxes, and they can sit in your closet. But don't they just beg you to be worn?
Yeah.
Like that's the moment. And so can you take that concept and infuse that both at the brand and the product design level for something like Vellum, where it's a luxury pen that you always want in your pocket.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't dare sign the tip with your, Bic garbage.
Right.
Get your multicolored gel pen out of my face.
Multicolored gel pen out of my face. Yeah. When you think about that, like it's implicitly being called to be used, worn, engaged with. And one of the things that happens naturally for shoes or for a vehicle or even a watch, it's like, well, I've got to put shoes on because I'm going out today. I'm going to go be a human. I'm going to go get in my Mercedes Benz because I'm a person that has to go to work or has to go to the grocery store. I'm putting on a watch because I'm getting dressed. Is there a natural trigger, you think, that would be like, I'm going to get the analog out? Because for the love, you and I are on laptops right now. Like, people are listening to this with AirPods on their phones, right? Like they're going about their day in a digital space. Is there a way that you trigger a person into being like, no, switch analog?
Yeah, I think so. And I've actually watched this process happen. So I have a younger brother, and he is a, firmly deep millennial child. He was born well beyond the record era and at the tail end of cassette tapes. And yet he has a significant record collection that he consumes. Where did that come from? It became this idea, even though the records aren't a one of one. It became this unique consumption experience for him, where he said, I'm going to consume this in a way that makes me authentic to it, that makes me feel more grounded to this, rather than flipping open Spotify and tuning up the exact same album that he's about to, pull the wax out and slap it down and put the he created an interest and a ritual and a personal, not identity. He didn't wrap his identity around it, but it is ingrained in his identity, right? If he was a race car driver, it would be a patch on his jumpsuit.
Right.
And so the question from that, and I do want to wrap this back around and get back down to brass tacks of manufacturing and production and operations, but can you change people into that? Like, can a product be the motivator to drive someone into accepting a new piece of their identity? Or does their identity already have to want it and you just offer up the product?
Yeah, we'll get more into that because I think that is such a good question. Okay, so when it comes down to like manufacturing, getting this engine going, like how, because it's a fundamentally different thing too, and this should be stated. When you're building out a luxury brand, totally different ballgame. Like we are taking a different path to product. We're taking a different path to branding. We're taking a different path to marketing and going to, like, everything is different. Store location really is vastly different. So when you think about just going to the point where it's like, okay, we got to go get this thing made, what are the things that come to mind for you, brother? What's kind of the things that are like, oh yeah, got to do this, got to do that? Very important.
I think this stems out of that extension of the conversation, which is brand into product into reality. If you're infusing your brand into the product, what does that product look like? And there's a lot of different ways you could take something like this. You could go kind of the Stanley route, which is like everything's the same with a small, tiny, minute twist, right? Different color, different pattern on it, but they're all the same core product. Or do you go more of the, 1 of 200 route where you're iterating and creating products to hit people where they're at that time? Is that and I think that's just a brand choice. There's not an answer here on this podcast. But I think that those are two routes you could run down, right?
I feel like there's also, if you can tie something in to so let's say I don't know that this exists. I'm creating a thing that is probably a thing, but I don't know. Let's say that there's a house that Thoreau used to live in, and you got access to it, and his writing workshop is going to be torn down, and you were able to get the wood from it, and you put that in like a piece of Thoreau's wood. Like, this is just a fun thing, a piece of Thoreau's writing workshop, or in one of your pens, and we only have a limited run of 1192 of them. I have no idea, right? But like it ties in an audience already that's like, that's cool. And it's something that's absolute, like, one of the reasons why Rolexes or luxury watches usually do really well, or even luxury vehicles at the super, super, super high end, they'll make a limited run. And so you literally get like paperwork that says, this is this is number 17 of 246 or whatever it is, right? And so there's something to that as well that like imbues that experience with more than just I bought a thing. It's like I own something that's rare. I think there's something to that in the manufacturing process as well, is where you're like, we have to have things that no one else would think to do.
I can actually verify that this is a transcendent marketing strategy. One of my mentors was the guy who came up with the idea on infomercials for the train sets. Remember infomercials for like train sets. We're talking like late night Nickelodeon in the like mid to late 90s.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, call now and you'll get this limited edition caboose for your train too. Okay. He came up with the idea of the certificate of authenticity. And that was a whole thing.
Yep.
That they ran with, where it was like, this is the, you know, Paul, or I almost said Logan Paul. Paul Bunyan.
Yeah.
Train car with a certificate of authenticity that goes with it. And he said that from the time they started that, it was a money printer. They literally couldn't get rid of these stinking train sets. And they just introduced this certificate of authenticity, and they sold them like madness. And now he's retired on Long Island,
naturally,
and does whatever he wants.
Of course. What else are you supposed to do?
Model train cars.
By the way, I just want you to know I showed remarkable restraint not to make a joke about your mother's limited edition caboose, but I digress. I already made it. So, yeah, I think that there is something to the certificate of authenticity, the limited run, right? Like all those things speak to us. Obviously, you have to make this thing. It has to, like, the pens have to have weight to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing, right? Like, if it doesn't have weight, it has to have substance still. So if you're making it with wood, it has to feel elegant. And so I think that so much of the production, you're going to spend a lot of time. I think about Musk in the early days of Tesla going in and teaching his people how to stitch the cushions the exact way that he wanted. The CEO is like, no, we're not going to stitch them like this. We're going to stitch them like this. And like, I don't think that he is a master upholsterer. Like, I just don't think he is. But he's like, no, this is how you have to do it. And you have to be in the details. And there's something about that with a luxury item that you're trying to bring to market. You're going to have to be the one that's like, no, I know that it doesn't feel like that. I know it doesn't work like this. I may not know exactly how it's supposed to, but I know it can't do that, and it can't do this, and it's got to be different than these other ones. What are you laughing? What did that get you?
I'm loving running down this road. It's creating a lot of operational problems. Like, we're instantly creating a lot of operations and production problems, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, like, your notebooks. What if you source the wood pulp for the notebooks from different areas? Like, hey, this comes from like a New Guinea forest, and like that's part of the product. Is like, this is a New Guinea notebook, and you could like talk about the traditions of New Guinea and like inspire people to write from the history of the paper they're writing on.
Yeah. I think that, does that change the sourcing challenges? Because like the operational sourcing challenges for this product, I think any luxury product, are intrinsically challenging. Because even like, let's scale it back to something that a lot of people would know. So Dogfish Head Brewery is probably my favorite brewery on the planet. Super fantastic beers. One of the things that they've done consistently is they'll find ingredients that aren't scalable on purpose. So like, they found Palo Santo wood to be, it's an exceptionally hard wood, and they will let beer sit in it for months. And they use that it makes like a 4-pack like $20. Some of their 4-packs, dude, are $50 for 4 beers because they're so expensive. Like, there's just so much that goes into it. I happily pay it every time. I get excited to buy it. And so I think that there is something about when you do create a sourcing challenge, there's also a disproportionate amount of people that love that as well, and they feel that. And so I think that
you're paying a marketing cost in production.
That's it. That's a bite. There's the sound bite we wanted. You're paying a marketing cost in production. That's right.
Because it's a lot easier to just call up, China China and say,
Yeah.
China, make me some notebooks.
That was good. When you think about, I loved your idea for the paper, by the way. I didn't want that to go unnoticed. Well, I mean, I think it is. I think it's super cool, man. And I think there's so much of it's every element of everything that you do. Is there like a bookmark? What is it made from? How do you put that together? Does it have a quote on it from one of your favorite authors that is just so good? How does that inspire the person to write more? What does the pen feel like that makes them go, yeah? There are certain pens that I've owned through the years. I don't know if you have. And there's certain notebooks that I've owned through the years that I'm like, ooh, like this pen just is it writes well. Mine are always like ballpoint, fountain pens. Do you like fountain? An aside.
I have one pen.
Singular
pen. My grandfather worked at what was it? Bell back in the day, Southwest Bell.
Yeah.
Which eventually was AT&T and became AT&T again.
That's right.
He had a 50 years of service pen.
Whoa.
Manufactured by Cross, which is a
Yeah.
middle tier pen brand. And so that has life nostalgia associated with it. But outside of that, I'm not really a pen guy. I'm actually a terrible note taker. So
I think that whenever I've had pens that are really nice, I do find myself writing more. When I have notebooks that are handy, I find myself writing more. When a pen becomes inconvenient, or I feel like my mind is going faster than I can capture down with my hand, that's when I switch to digital. I'm just saying for me personally. But there is like a certain, it's almost like a tang in a sword or something. There's like a certain vibe that it has at the right balance. Your grandfather's pen, do you actually use it, or does it just kind of like... You do?
Yes,
That's
I
fun.
do. It's currently with my it's with my cocktail notebook right now, actually.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
A cocktail notebook?
I do. I like to experiment in the liquor cabinet, and so I record my cocktails that I create.
So I think that that's a fun place to go to with this brand. So if you're talking about utensils to write and material to capture that writing, you have so many other fun side quests that you can go on that may pull somebody in, like a cocktail notebook. Because maybe I'm not a journaler in the traditional sense, but man, I like to experiment in the kitchen. And like, you know what I mean? Like there's something fun about that. Are there other places that you think analog is like a preferred method? Like, because there is something now that feels like when you do analog, it's like, ooh, this is like forever. This feels real.
I mean, everything's a one of one.
Yeah.
Everything you write is a one of one. And I've always thought that that's a cool piece of writing, right? It's never going to be that way again. So, I mean, I think there's, I'm not one of these people, but there's people who are serial letter writers. There are people who are meticulous paper planners. There's, things like cocktail books, notebooks, idea books, people who carry a small little survival notebook as they're out in the wild. Heck, just even writing on the back of a business card. There's lots of different opportunities for writing.
Yeah. And I think there's also like some niche ones. So like I remember we worked with a brand years ago now. Oh my God, it was a decade ago. Holy crap, I'm getting old. But it's a brand called Write in the Rain. It's actually not too far from my house. And what it is it's a notepad that is waterproof, water resistant. They have some that you can take down to the bottom, like 300 feet below the ocean surface, and you can write on it still there. And so like it makes sense. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of rain. People are outside. They're trying to take notes. So it's got like this own sort of cult following. It's not a luxury item. It's 100% a utility. It's got a premium cost in many ways compared to everything else, though, because it's a unique product. But I think there's so many opportunities where there's an industry that's a little bit weird. There's an opportunity that's a little bit unique. Like maybe there's a whole notebook for your travels in Scotland, and like that's a boutique, very small item set. And it's, I don't know, like there's so many places you can go with this in the product design that's really, really fun. So what would the obstacles be? What would be the things that would be really challenging about this business, do you think? Outside of like the marketing and how you put it out there, like what are the things that are the hiccups here?
I mean, as I said, manufacturing, production. I think when you are making a unique product, that inherently develops its own unique process for production. And so what that looks like, if it's everything is hand milled or something to that effect, you're looking at a cost per unit that's going to make Bic blush, So,
well, and you're not repeating the process a million times in a day. You may only make 10,000 units in the next 4 years.
You know what blows my mind? That cigars are still rolled by hand.
Yeah, it is shocking, right? It's like, how?
It sounds like a detour from the conversation on the surface,
right.
But like every cigar that is a known, well-off established cigar brand, they are rolled by a human being taking leaves and just doing this until it's a cigar. We aren't really unless they're like Black and Milds, which is like, that's a Black and Mild, it's not a cigar. Right. But like
yeah, that's not a cigar.
And so I kind of like that aspect where it's like, we don't want to have a process.
I think that it's that whole thing. Did you ever watch the movie with Bradley Cooper, Burnt, where he's like the chef?
I have. No? I've seen a lot of clips, but I have not seen the full film.
So there's this great. If you haven't watched it, if you're listening, I really recommend it. I bought it because I think it's so freaking fascinating. The story's fun. Plus, B. Cooper. I mean, come on, man. B. Coop is the best. But he has this scene with another actor, and they're in a Burger King. And he goes, do you want something to eat? And she's like, no. Why would I want to eat here? And he's like, why? It's the exact same food that we make in our space, right? Like it's protein, it's got fat, it's, and he like starts breaking it down. And he goes, you know why this is cheap? It's not because this is a cheap cut of meat. That's exactly what we do at the restaurant too. He was like, it's because they're consistent. That there's something about consistency actually devalues it. It's when it's a craft, when it's an artistry, you always want to be improving. You always want to be pushing on the vanguard of what's possible. He's like, that's when people come to us. They come to us because we're not trying to be consistent. We're trying to be consistent in our ever progression to be better. And I think that there's something about that with this sort of products, when it's like it's a luxury item, limited runs, you're doing the Henry David Thoreau writing shack wood piece, and it's like, oh, that's cool, or it's like, or this is a wood stave from a 50-year-old Macallan cask, and you're like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's cool,
Yeah.
And it's like, if you have an imperfection in that, it's almost seen as a win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's almost like, oh, mine's cooler because it's got a little dent here that came from the
Right.
manufacturing, and it may actually be worth more.
This was melted down samurai sword,
right.
and mine has this little streak of color in it, and that makes it mine.
Yeah. 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 So I think that there's something to the process of manufacturing where there's actually a benefit too of like, well, this run of pens was bad. Cool. I wonder what that means. And if you build out the brand big enough and long enough, your biggest mess ups, quote unquote mess ups in product could actually end up being your most sought after products, period.
We were just looking at this the other day. My wife had a ton of Barbies still in the boxes from her childhood. And we're like, are any of these worth anything? And the number one most expensive Barbie comes with like a $10K diamond necklace on it. So like, okay. But the number two is a misprint Barbie.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that there's something to that, right? And like, so I think that as you get into manufacturing, that the challenge with manufacturing is you're never going to do the same thing 100 million times. You're going to do limited runs. You're going to update your profiles. You're going to have, it's just going to be different. You're not going to put these on sale on your website. I'm getting in a little bit into the marketing, but still talking product here. You're going to take those and give them to a retailer that's going to hawk them maybe. Or you're going to donate them to nonprofits and say, hey, listen, we're donating this to you. Now you get to sell it at auction for charity. Great. That's how we get rid of old stock. Like you're going to be thoughtful about how you move through product SKU. You're probably going to do far fewer numbers, but it's all about cultivating a brand that that has a moat around it. That is like, it's hard to come for us, not because we're producing at scale, like it is with G2, Pilot, Sharpie. It's hard to come at us because we have a rabid following of people who love what we do.
So on our way to the marketing conversation, because I do want to touch on how do you get this out the door?
Yeah.
Packaging. Thoughts?
I know that you are not an Apple person. It's okay. We can disagree. The thing that I love about Apple, though, that moment where you're pulling up the sleeve and you're trying to get to your new device and it's like an epic poem. Mm-hmm. Because it's like what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, hey, the gift of I think this works best for Christmas presents because they like sit out under the tree. How do you guys do it? Do you guys put gifts around the tree or is that, yeah, okay, so we do too. Is like the actual present is the moments before you open the gift. That's the joy. The joy is what did I get? What's it going to be? What's going on? That is the gift.
Why is this too tiny for what I wanted?
Yeah, right. That's the joy. That's the game, man. And so I think that there's something too when you build this packaging, it needs to look and feel high end. You're going to spend more money on packaging than you ever thought was appropriate, necessary, or good. I mean, just real. Like you may spend $20 on a packaging design per unit because you want something that's elegant and stately. What if it was something that was unique every time? What if every single pen had its own unique box that was handmade by, you know what I mean? Like there's so many directions you can go with this that just like,
I don't want to talk on it because we'll go down a super rabbit hole, but the opportunity for collabs on this is insane.
It's insane.
Like, imagine getting a pen that's in an Offerman woodshop box.
Oh my God, are you kidding? My muse. Dude, that's so weird that you brought him up, by the way. I was talking with someone earlier today, and I mentioned Offerman, and I love that guy.
Yeah, there's too much crossover potential with this. But let's get to market. We've got, 2 3 pens produced, limited run. We've got a couple of cool sourced notebooks. Maybe we have a couple desk tchotchkes. Cherry blossoms that fell off of a tree in Japan but never hit the ground, encased in a glass acrylic or something. Stuff to go on your desk with you. Okay? We got some cool stuff. We have no one that knows we exist at this moment. What's next? Where do we go?
Depending on your budget. I think there are different ways to go about this. So one way I would go about it, the scrappy way, let's say. The scrappy way I'd go about it is I would go look at where are the high-end places locally and nationally that I want to be in. So, an example, went to a business conference at a PGA Tour golf course in London a couple months ago. That's probably a good place to have your pens out. It was not a cheap place to stay. It was not a cheap place to be. It was nice. People are there to spend inordinate amounts of money playing a round of golf, just frankly. So like that makes sense. Country clubs. I would put it in places like we had a guy on Unicorn Campaigns recently. He works at Solomon Brothers, which is like a high-end jewelry store in the Atlanta area. They cater towards the ultra wealthy. I'd be saying, hey, how can I get my pens into those locations as a tester, right? Like, hey guys, I'll give you the pens for free. Just come back to me for the ink, right? Like you can sell ink at a very good premium to put into your very premium pens. Hey, if you love those pens so much, I've also got notebooks and da-da-da. And what if we took over printing some of your, whatever that looks like, right? So I think that that's kind of like the scrappier way because it costs you the price of the material itself. What would be your scrappy approach? I've got my other like really fun idea for high end, but what would be your scrappy approach, Jake? I mean, obviously you're going to also advertise online and stuff too, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but scrappy approach?
I'm going to steal this one from expos because I think expos do this very well.
Okay.
Or specifically products that are associated with expos. And I'm going to use Disney as an example here.
Okay.
D23 is the Disney Expo. Hosted by Disney, put on by Disney. It's all Disney. It's incredible. Tickets sell out instantaneously. One of their biggest products in the last couple of years is they created a trading card game called Lorcana, where they're leveraging their massive Disney IP to create, Pokemon cards, but with Mickey Mouse instead of, Pikachu. They did a limited drop at the show of 6 cards, and it even says on the card, release D23, that's where you got those cards. And they were only available in that moment, and now they're gone. And people who have them have them. I want to generate a similar event, whether that's through an expo, whether that's my first batch of 100 pens and notebooks, I only send to writers who are on TikTok and Instagram. And I just send them. No conversation, no asking, just find their address, send them the box, and let them have the mystery of it. And I would go, let's try and generate that viral event. That's how I would start it, because I am luxury and I want the demand more than I want the promotion.
Yeah, totally. Ooh, I like that. It's very good.
What's your wild idea? Because I also have a wild idea that's not feasible in today's market, but it's funny to me.
So I think mine is feasible. It's just a matter of how you go about it. And I think there's a way that you can go about, like we've seen, so it's using a celebrity. One of my favorite books over the past 10 years happened to be a memoir. I know, I'm getting close too. We're going to have to wrap this up. Happened to be a memoir written by Matthew McConaughey. If you haven't read or listened to Greenlights, which if you listen to it, Matthew reads it to you, which doesn't suck.
This is about the 9th time he's recommended I read it, by the way, for those who are listening.
Well, look, dude, you can only lead a horse to water. So one of the things that he talks about in that book specifically is that he journaled as from a young age, and he continues to journal every day. It's something I don't do, but I know that he intrinsically does. It's part of his brand. It's part of his story. People get it. And as much as it is absolutely SNL skit worthy whenever McConaughey is being himself selling a Lincoln, it's also, there's something there. And I think that there's something to his tone, his cadence, I'm sorry, I saw him on Two Bears, One Cave like a few months ago, and he's the guy that he sat down and like tried their vodka, and he brought his tequila. They were just like hanging out in Austin. But I was like, yeah, I would love, out of all, there are a lot of people living that I think would be interesting. McConaughey would be the coolest person, bar none, to hang out with, in my opinion, for
especially
an afternoon.
if you get his egg salad.
Is the tuna salad.
Or tuna salad. Tuna salad.
Yeah, it was tuna salad that he makes tuna sandwiches for. He does it every Sunday night. So the thing that would be fun is if you had him be your celebrity endorsement. He's the one that's doing the commercials. You give him a percentage of the company, and you automatically, like immediately, you have elevated yourself to luxury because he's associated with Lincoln, because he's associated with, the finer things, and have that celebrity endorsement in perpetuity if you structure it right, that actually gets you where you want to go, because he's got a built-in audience that also gets analog, and they can relate back to the story, and he can pull that into the creative. And so I think that for me, that's my crazy idea, but it would be a pitch that once you have a product moving and you're moving it down the path, if you can approach him and be like, hey man, help us out with this. We'd love to give you a percentage of the company. Let's figure this out. That would be my move. What about yours? What's your crazy idea?
If you could get him to give you, I believe I'm not mistaken here, the Lincoln lawyer prop where he uses the log.
Yes.
The fence post or whatever it is to make pens.
Just be amazing.
Dude.
Could you imagine?
I have a single sip left, and I do want to share your idea is awesome and achievable. Mine might be too much.
Okay, fair enough.
People love exclusive. People love that other people can't get this thing.
Okay.
What if you don't have like a functional website, and the only way you can get our products is by writing us a letter and sending us a check?
Oh, yes.
That's the only way you can get the product.
You know how funny? Like, that's so funny. I don't know that it would work.
You can have a website that like shows the products and the names, but the only way you're getting that is you have to take out a piece of paper and your crappy G2 pen that we're going to replace.
Yeah.
And write me a stinking letter about why you deserve this product. And enclose a check and pray you get selected.
Yeah. I'm in on it. Sign me up. That's fun, man. That's fun. Well, I think we're there.
I've hit the end of the glass.
I as well. Ooh, that was so good. All right, man.
So,
what is final thoughts on Vellum, taking it to market, making it work?
The more exclusive, the more desirable. But the harder it is to make something exclusive these days. So you're going to have to put in the effort to source your African baobab trees to make those notebooks, to go and find, the bedpost of Abraham Lincoln to make your pens. Something that's going to make these things not quite one of one, but damn near close. I think that's the route for this product. And once people know, you'll never have to market again.
Yeah, I think there's a space for this in the marketplace. I think there's actually a hunger for it. There's not a universally known luxury writing desk. I think the closest we get is Grove Made. I wouldn't call them luxury. I'd call them really nice, high quality. But I don't know if I'd call them luxury just yet. So like that step just above it.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, there's something there, and that is so freaking fun.
Awesome. Well, did you enjoy your drink? I enjoyed mine.
I love mine. Thank you.
I'll shout out again. Freeland Spirits, the Forest Gin. A dry gin, but it is one of a kind. I don't know. It is because it's from Portland.
The next time that you're in town, we should go to the Freeland Distillery. It's not that far from the house. So just saying, we need to go make that happen, bro.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is fantastic. If you're looking to get into a luxury brand, if you want to take something to market that is so special, hopefully you got something from this episode. If you want to take it a step further and you're looking for more business guidance and advice, check out the other shows on our channel, Vox and Coin. Both the Vox and Coin show and the Unicorn campaigns, where we dive deep on campaigns that really crushed it for people. Highly recommend you give those a follow as well. Dave, if I wanted to find you and your magnificent brain, where can I find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I post there a couple times a day, sometimes more. You can also go check me out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at RealDval is my handle, as well as some of the other content on Vox and Coin. And Jake, if people want to check you out, where can they go?
You're going to find me pretty much anywhere you like as The Wizard Marketing. Or just give me a shout out through Finch, our agency. We'd love to help you out, take your dreams into reality, take you from that first step to the second, third, fourth, and fifth. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. This has been The Last Drop. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. If you've got a great idea, send it to us. Thank you so much. Adios.